Hi, I'm Richard Varga. I am Olympian athlete, and you're listening to the Physical Performance Show.
And the winner is...
Failure is not an option.
I've had my ups and my downs.
Phelps with 10 meters left. 3 minutes too good. The crowd roaring. Freeman wins gold.
I think it's an absolutely breakthrough experience.
Welcome to the Physical Performance Show, the show designed to inspire the pursuit of your physical best performance. I'm your host, Brad Beer. Listen in as we delve into how the world's top physical performers achieve their success, as well as the highs, the lows, and the journey of getting there. Let's get ready, set, let's go. Welcome to another episode of the Physical Performance Show. I trust you've been having a great week, and I trust that you've been enjoying pursuing your physical best. On today's episode, I catch up with the fish of the World Triathlon scene, Richard Varga. That's right, we're keeping the triathlon theme running, and we've featured Lionel Sanders, Terenzo Bozzoni, and now Richard Varga. Richard is a dual Slovakian Olympic Games representative, representing Slovakia in the 2012 and 2016 London and Rio Olympic Games. Richard is also the 4 times World Aquathlon Champion, that's swim, run. Richard's been the Slovakian Triathlete of the Year an amazing 8 times. He's a Super League Triathlon Series competitor. I first met Richard in 2017 at the first round of the Super League Triathlon Series on Hamilton Island. In 2017, the World Triathlon Series voted Richard as the best swimmer of the year. Richard let out of the water 5 out of 6 times in 2017, bringing his career total first out of the waters to 33 out of 40 World Triathlon Series starts. He's well loved amongst the triathlon community. He's a great character, a really fun guy, and his swimming prowess is something that at any international race that Richard features, you can pretty much bet that he's going to be leading out of the water, if not in the top couple of swimmers. On today's episode, we discuss the highs, the lows, and of course the learnings of Richard's career to date. We talk about the early start Richard had in the swimming pool, what it was like growing up with a mum as a swim coach, Richard's transition into triathlon in 2008 as a 19-year-old following his older brother over to the sport. We talk about Richard's top 3 attributes that a triathlete needs in order to swim well. We talk about the triathletes that Richard admires and what it was like in the lead up to the London 2012 Olympic Games, training with both Alistair and Johnny Brownlee. We also discuss how that training role came about and the friendship that he has with the amazing Brownlee brothers. And we also talk about rehabilitating an injury leading into the Rio Olympic Games. There's a whole lot in this episode. I know you're going to really enjoy it. Certainly if you're a triathlon fan, you're going to love it. If you are just a fan of endurance sport or a fan of sport in general, this is a fun episode. So let's dive in with Mr. Richard Varga. Listeners, I have been looking forwards to catching up with today's guest, Richard Varga, since I first met Richard on Hamilton Island earlier this year for the Super League Triathlon Series. I'd known a lot about Richard. I'd seen Richard lead the swim leg out of most Olympic distance triathlons, and a former guest of the show, Shannon Eckstein, had the pleasure of doing some surf swim training with Richard and Alistair and Johnny Brownlee ahead of the Rio Olympic Games. So, Richie Varga, it's great to have you on.
Thank you very much for having me here. G'day, mate, all the people all around the world.
Rich, let's start with something a little bit fun, and that's, what's one thing that scares Richard Varga?
Sometimes it's the sharks in Australia, I would say. I'm not happy to swimming too far from the shore, which would be maybe surprising, but we don't have any sea here and we don't have any sharks in Slovakia, so that's a bit different for me. when I come racing in Australia.
And when when you've been in Australia, Richard, like the surf swim training session you did with Shannon Eckstein, I doubt whether you had any close encounters, right?
Yeah, he was amazing. I was really impressed how he was smooth to going into the water and out. So, and have to surf body surfing it was very interesting, and I think we picked up quite quick, and it was quite fun to something new.
And Rich, while we're there, that was all ahead of the Rio Olympic Games, where the triathlon was obviously held in the surf, and there was the possibility that there'd be a few waves. From my recollection, you led the swim out in Rio. Correct me if I'm wrong. And it started the day, so you're off to a great start, right?
Yeah. It wasn't that what we were expecting. So some waves. It was very calm water. It was like that side of the beach or Copacabana, where is actually not any waves. So it was very different what we were expecting, but we took it, and my start was quite clean. I get on the front, and then I just try to swim as hard as possible. And
Rich, with your swim leg, we're going to come back and talk about your dual Olympic representations of Slovakia in both the London Olympic Games and Rio Olympic Games. But your swim leg, Rich, I mean, you're known as the fish of triathlon. You're an amazing swimmer. Where did that start for you, and how did that start as a young boy?
Oh, well, so it came from my swimming background. I was as a kid, 3 years old. My mom was a swim coach, so I had to join the swim group as very little, and I just picked up. And sometimes there was thing that we had. My mom had 3 courses of the kids, and sometimes I have to stay for whole 3 hours or 2 hours sometimes, because after my session I wouldn't be allowed from my mom to get out from the water and just sit and play with the kids. I had to do some more practicing. So I think that's somewhere it starts my swimming, and then of course it comes for the national swimming. When I was 10, 11, 12, I was doing all the national records for each age category. And then I decided to do triathlon.
And what age was that, Richard? When was that transition point for you? So you grew up thinking about swimming, and then at what point did triathlon drop into your consciousness?
I think it was about 2008. So when I was 19, that was like I was starting doing more international events on triathlon, and my recent coach, he told me I should be very good. They really support me, and I really loved that I'm doing 3 different sports, and I'm most of with the people outside. I can talk to them, because in swimming you just with your head your head is down in the water. So that's what I didn't like about the swimming. I like the movement and stuff, but I like the social as well, which is allowed to do on the bike and running on very easy mileage or even fast sometimes.
And so, Rich, what do you think, just on the swimming for a moment? I mean, 2 things. Was your swimming training quite arduous as a boy? I mean, you mentioned your mum was a swim coach, so you were in the water at 3. But were you doing lots of kilometres, lots of miles? Was it hard training? What gave you the depth of your swim that we now see in the world on the World Triathlon stage?
Yeah, well, from my country, we were coming from like a Russian school, or how would I say it? So the point was doing lots of mileage and lots of kilometers. So when I remember when I was maybe 14, that was the biggest week when we did like 37K. So we did some kind of crazy stuff like this. And I mean, when I'm looking back, it wasn't the best thing what we do it, but on the other hand, it gives me perfect base and perfect feel for the water for future years in triathlon.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, what would you say, Richard, are the top 3 attributes a triathlete needs to swim well? What are the top 3?
In technique or any, or I don't know.
Technique. Let's go with technique. The top 3 technique tips from Richard Varga.
Well, it's quite common. It's not any something special, but for me the first one would be a little bit different. Is with the core. So to be as high as possible. So using your core. And that allows you to don't sink, to don't have the hydrodynamic drag. And the second thing is the cadence. That's what I had to learn when I was going from the swimming background to the triathlon background, that in the open water you need a much higher cadence if you want to swim with these guys, because when you look, some swimmers come swim with triathletes and they are maybe 2 classes better swimmers, but they very average in the open water. So I think this is the cadence stuff. And then the other hand would be the third, I think, the kick work. I think lots of people saying that you don't need to kick too much. You don't have to train kick too much. In my opinion, is yes, you have to training to have as much as possible efficient kick. So when it comes to the race, you're doing the perfect movement, but you don't have to kick in too much. It doesn't mean you have to kick in too much. You don't want to waste your energy with your legs, but you want to have perfect movement with your legs.
And so when you're swimming a 1,500 metre swim at the front of World Triathlon, are you 6-beat kick at the start, Rich, and then pulling it back at the start and finish of the swim, or are you holding that right through, or what's your strategy normally?
Well, I think I'm not doing any 6. I think 4 times. So really high cadence with the arms and strong kicks. And then when it's after maybe 400 meters, I think it starts with the 2 kicks. And then sometimes what I found this year, and I was really looking for some different things in my races for swimming, and really helps me when my arms get really tired. I start kicking much harder. So I tried to a little bit like loose up with the arms, so my arms get rest up, and then for a few seconds I kick really hard, I help myself, and then suddenly in 3-4 seconds, just like this, it comes air to your arms, and you can smash out with your arms again.
Yeah, that's excellent advice, Richard. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, what's some of the key swim sessions you might do to target kicking? Any key kick sessions you'd recommend for listeners?
I mean, it's everyday work. I mean, I'm doing lots of for warm up, so I'm doing some. I go 100 freestyle, 50 kicks on the side or on the back without kickboard. I love doing without kickboard. So you're in a natural position. You don't have to have head up or stuff like that. So I'm using more without kickboard, my kicks, and then I'm doing maybe some few. It's just a more concentration thing as a special session. I mean, we're doing some 50s build up or some hard ones, but I think it's all about to using your kick, like in the cycling. You kicking down, but you're also kicking up. It's like a circle but you're not doing circle like in the water, like in the bike, but you're doing the circle in the water, so up and down for me. So that's how I understand where you're pushing the water.
Yeah, look, that's great, Rich. In terms of you growing up, who was the first triathlete you admired?
First triathlete, maybe my brother, because he started when I was maybe 13, 12, and I went to watch him, and that was the first, not a famous one, but I mean, for me, he brings me to the triathlon. And if you ask maybe for the big star, it would be, I think, Hamish Carter, when I was watching 2004 Olympics. That was pretty.
Athens Olympic Games. So Hamish Carter.
Jan Rehula, because that was a quite big thing. He got a medal in Sydney, so it could be the first people I got noticed about triathlon.
Excellent. Rich, you went to London 2012 as a 21, 22-year-old, so very young. You led the swim out in the London Olympic Games. And also, in the lead-up, you did, I believe, quite a bit of training with, obviously, Jonathan and Alistair Brownlee ahead of their dynamic performances in winning gold and the bronze medal in London. What was that like, Rich, being sort of cherry-picked to go and do some training work with the Brownlee brothers?
Oh man, it was just I was over the moon. If I'm to be honest, I was a very new person in triathlon, and they were really heroes. I remember 2008 watching Beijing, and Alistair came 11, and he was just hero. Like, he was very young, and in that moment I say, like, this guy is gonna do something. And next year, 2009, he won everything he could possibly do in the World Series. So they were quite heroes. And then 2010 we start training together, and we building up. I did a final training camp with them in St. Moritz before London, and it was just amazing for my confidence, and it was just a pleasure to do training with them.
And how did that come about? They obviously knew your swimming pedigree and saw the great advantages that could, attract in their performances. But was it via a phone call from one of the brothers or the great British triathlon director? How did it actually happen?
No, nothing like this. It was we met. We went racing to the same team in Sartreville, in French team. It was an Iron Tour, so kind of super league, but there was 5 different races in 5 different cities in France. So that's how we get together. Like, we were in the same group, and we got really good friends. And they told me, like, mate, if you any time you wanna come on the training camp, you're more than welcome. And then I give them call if it's something happening, and they told me, yeah, we're going to Lanzarote in December 2010, and yeah, let's go. So I came there and I joined them, and it was fantastic. So it was nothing like, oh, Richard, can you help us with the swim or whatever. It was more natural than I think most of the people think. It was more about the friendship as to gain any advice, any benefits. It was benefits, but it was more enjoyment to have nice people around.
Yeah, look, that makes sense. Now you say that, Rich. The 2012 Games, you finished 22nd. How did the race actually play out for you? What was going through your head on the start line of your first Olympic Games representing Slovakia?
Wow, yeah, that was another big thing, and yeah, I was very excited. I felt really, really good fitness. I think it was amazing fitness. I felt so fast on the swim and on the bike and run. I think I was in the best shape in my life, and I knew we're gonna do something great that day. And if I'm pretty lucky, I could do maybe top 10. Even I'm not top 10 athlete in that moment in the world, but if the strategy goes well, I can do something epic. But so I just jumped in the water, and I had clean start, and I was swimming as hard as I can on the first buoy. But then I realized I dropped everyone, so I had to make sure that someone is on my feet, and I saw is Javier there. I didn't know where the Brownlees are. I just believe they will get somewhere close, and then we'll be able to get a breakaway. And that's what happened. We came out 5 people, me, Javi, and Alessandro Fabian, Alistair, Jonathan, and it was a perfect 5. I mean, we stay in a breakaway for, if I'm not sure, maybe 15k or 20k, something like this, halfway. But I felt that energy that we actually could do anything in that day. The atmosphere and the people was just pushing us we were flying through the course. So, and then unfortunately, the second group came together with Jan Froteno, with Lauren Vidal, David House, and lots of very strong guys. Brett Calafel. No, Brett wasn't there, but
Courtney.
I think Courtney Atkinson. Yeah, Courtney was there. And I was like, well, it was really hard to try get away, and then they called us, and I hope like, okay, I can rest up a little bit now, but the pace was still hot. I tell you what, it was still hot, and then I jump on my run and I try just run my race, and I didn't put my shoes really correct. I put the laces inside of the shoe. So it was scratching my skin, and I had to stop like twice to correct them. So that stops me. But maybe that was the few seconds that it makes 22nd place, because Mari, there was a big group, last 500 meters caught me, and there was like 5 people. So that could be it. But it was. I was super pleased because I was just qualified for the Olympics in the last minute. I was maybe last person, and I did absolutely everything in the preparation. The preparation was great. I didn't get injured, anything like that, and I was just pleased to race as hard as I could.
You're listening to Richard Varga, dual Olympic triathlon representative for Slovakia, the fish of the World Triathlon series, sharing on the highs, the lows, and the learnings of his career. A quick break from Richard Varga. Today's episode is brought to you lovingly by Normatec. Normatec Recovery is the leader in rapid recovery systems designed to give a competitive edge to the world's elite endurance athletes. The Normatec Pulse recovery systems are dynamic compression devices designed for recovery and rehab, using its patented pulse technology to help athletes recover faster between workouts and after performance by reducing muscle soreness and improving circulation. Get fresh legs faster with Normatec. For more details of the Normatec recovery boots, jump over to alphasport.com.au. Support for this show and today's episode also comes from POGO Physio. We exist to help you get back to your physical best following injury. We want everyone who walks through the doors of POGO Physio to cross their physio finish line. That's where we high-five you, we tell you that you finished rehabilitation, and you're back to your physical best. We do this through industry-first initiatives such as our very popular monthly wellness booster packages, our 2, 6 and 12-week finish line programs which feature unlimited access to services, and of course also our initial appointment, our Discover Recover session, and the standard session-to-session care. For more details about POGO Physio and its services, jump over to pogophysio.com.au. And now let's jump back to Richard Varga. It's interesting. I had the opportunity at the most recent Super League there in Jersey, where we both were, to speak to Jonathan Brownlee, and we spoke about London and the significance that it was to Jonathan. And Jonathan said it still brings him almost to tears to think about how many people were on the course that day. Anyone that watched the event, it's still in my mind one of, if not the most epic triathlon of all time. The crowd, the cheering, the speed that you guys were pushing along at. I mean, what speed were you pushing along at the bike, and was it just deafening riding around?
I mean, I didn't have power meter or any computer, but we were flying maybe 50k an hour, and it feels really, really fast. It feels really fast.
Yeah, and the run leg, I mean...
any data, but we had, I think, 43k an hour in average that day with a really pretty technical course.
Yeah, so you really were flying. And I mean, your run split that day, Rich, I mean, people know you as a fish, but you're no slouch on the run. What was your run split that day?
I think it was something 31:30 or 31:40.
Yeah, so
yeah, it was pretty good on me, but still quite far from Alistair, Javier, and Johnny.
Well, I mean, that day I think they ran 29 something, all three. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. I think even
28.
David House with Lauren Vidar were really close of 29.
Yeah. Wow. What was the first thing you said to Jonathan and Alistair after that? You trained together from 2010, and they've just done an incredible double podium. Podium between them. What did you say to the boys?
We just don't say nothing. We were just we were hugging, and we said it's amazing. We did it. I feel like a team, and because no one that did before that, the favorite did actually get the gold, get the medal. So we were all very excited that it actually nothing happened, and they could show the performance they had. So that was amazing. Well
executed. And then Rio, you finished 11th. So you're on the upward trajectory. Look out Tokyo. But Rio, was it a good experience for you, Rich?
Yes. But it was a bit different for me. I was training 2 years in Leeds before, and we had really good training before. But I had a slightly more injuries before the Olympics with my Achilles and with my hamstring, so I couldn't do that preparation as I did in London. And I believe that it would be perfect, but it's nothing perfect. Everyone has some problems, some issues, and that's just how it works, So 11 is better than 22nd, but when I looking for the preparation and put in a preparation, I always want to be prepared for the race. That's my kind of goal, and that didn't happen. But I came 11, which is perfect as well.
Well, it's 100% improvement on London if you do the maths. And what the Achilles injury, was it a Achilles tendinopathy, or was it a tear, or what was it, Rich?
Well, it was a more problem with the FA gel.
Yeah.
So it was touching the Achilles, and because my arch was collapsing down, so that's irritate my Achilles as well. So that was the biggest issue, and so just I tried to learn to walk and learn to how to use my foot, how to use my glutes and all these things. So really rebuild my patterns, so that's a long kind of term thing. But after Olympics, I came back home and I found my good physio, and they were working with me till January. I didn't run at all, and since that I have no signs of any Achilles problem, and I had a tiggle before for 2 years, so I'm really pleased with that.
Oh, that's great. I mean, tendons can take time, that's for sure. What was your first triathlon, Rich? Where was it? Can you remember it? Your first triathlon?
Well, my first triathlon, it was in small village in Slovakia, and it was kind of like in Europe you have summer holidays, and in my country you don't have any too much swimming pools. It's all closed in the summer, so I went like, I'm gonna do triathlon because I can swim something in a lake and do some triathlon. So I think maybe I was 13, 14, and I remember I was swimming perfect out of the people, everyone, and then I jumped on my mountain bike, and the kids I was racing with, they all had a road bike, so they passed me and they were much faster, and then I jumped out of the bike and I was catching people back. I think I didn't even finish top 3, or I think 4 or 5. I was out of the medals, but that moment some people said I might be the future thing in triathlon. Even I didn't make the podium.
Wow! So in your heart, did you believe that you could be one of the world's best triathletes at that moment?
No way. I said this is not a sport for me. Like I'm actually okay, but this is different world. This is not me. I might stick with the swimming, but every time I was doing more races, a little bit more, it was still much better.
Yeah, that constant improvement, which is so motivating. Rich, of all your results, you've achieved lots of things, including dual Olympic Games representation. But if you could pick one result, Rich, out of all your results to date, which one's the most important to you and why?
Ooh, this is a hard question. It's a few of them. Maybe I'll go this year Super League, 4th place.
So put listeners in perspective, Super League Triathlon Series, there's been 2 rounds, Hamilton Island earlier in the year 2017 and just recently Jersey, the 2nd round. Rich, put listeners in perspective that aren't familiar with Super League Series, what it is, and also why that was your best result to date.
Well, it's a very unique new format in a World of Triathlon. It's a 3 days or 2 days event, which is mixed up the format. So, like a first day we're doing triple mix, is swim, bike, run. Then we're doing 10 minutes rest. Then we're doing a run, bike, swim, and on the end we're doing bike, swim, run. Well, and this we're doing, the distance is 300 meter swims, 5K bike, and 2K run. And next day we're doing any different formats, and so it's very exciting. It's very exciting and very, very fresh in triathlon.
And listeners, we'll tag up the Hamilton Island video or the highlights of Hamilton Island. So look on the show notes, listeners, for that. But Rich, you won one of the races in the triple mix, the race that finished with the swim at the end. And I think anyone that knows you was pretty thrilled that you got to stand on that top step at the end of that day for that race. For that race in particular. What was that like, crossing the line first? You're normally out of the water first, but then with the runners coming through, not always holding first to the end. So crossing first that day, that must have been quite something. Yeah,
it was quite shock for me because I didn't expect that they will swim so slow. It feels that they can't swim after that, but yeah, I mean, that's everything feels when you're a little bit better of the others. That I was asking myself, like, what's wrong with them? Just like when I was passing them. So it was very strange feeling, to be fair, and I was just absolutely shocked and very happy that something like this could happen. I knew I'm in a great shape for this event, but I didn't knew that actually I can do this.
And then Super League Jersey, unfortunately you're injured, Rich, your foot. So you took to the start line in Jersey for the first day, but, battled through. So how did you reconcile that disappointment, Rich? I know you went off to get some scans when you got home.
Well, it's I tried my best. I wanted to race hard. That I did. The race was really, really different for me. Like in Hamilton Island, I think I wasn't the same shape as I was there. My foot was bad, and the run was too long without shoes, either barefoot, and too steep hills. So it was I wasn't good there. So I was really struggling, but I just loved that I was racing with the best of the best in the world, and the atmosphere was great. The organization was amazing. The venue was amazing. So I just don't look all the time of your performance and of your day. You just try do the best out of the moment, and that's what I did.
Yeah, and it's such an incredible event. So listeners, do check out Super League Triathlon as it continues to roll out future rounds. Rich, World Triathlon Series, what's your best performance on a WTS event to date, and why?
It was a Kitzbühel 2014, I think. It was finishing up the hill. It was a 6th place, so that was the best one.
And that was
that was closest from the podium. I think it was just 30 seconds or something.
And that was quite an amazing race, right? As you say, finishing uphill.
Yeah. I think it should be more of this. It was we had as well. Very great preparation there with Alistair in a Italian Alps and Dolomites. So it was amazing. It really suits me to racing up the hill.
Rich, you just mentioned the Brownlee brothers again. What do you think makes them so exceptional? You've trained with them. You've been close. You're good friends. What do you think is the one attribute or the couple of attributes that set them apart?
I think they work as no one I could see before. Like it's just crazy. If I'm talking, someone asks me how much they train and I try to be honest, no one believes me. So they working really tough on themselves, and they love the sport. They love to do the movement, the running, cycling, swimming. They're doing it all the time. It's very natural for them. They're doing I think, and it's incredible.
You said that people don't believe you because of the volume or because of the intensity or both?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
It's also volume and also intensity. I mean, it's not maybe some people doing more intensity, but there is a mixture definitely of intensity and volume.
You're listening to Richard Varga, dual Slovakian Olympic representative from the London and Rio Olympic Games, the fish of the modern triathlon world. But listeners, if you missed last week's episode, we featured Terenzo Bozzoni, Ironman triathlete. Terenzo went on a podium roll at the end of 2017, taking 4 podiums across 4 consecutive weeks in 4 continents of the world. If you missed Terenzo's episode, be sure to jump back and tune in to the triathlon theme that we have rolling.
There were some pretty dark days in the build-up to this year's Kona, actually. We were in San Diego with the family and started getting some pretty major niggles, which stopped me running dead in my tracks. And it's just really frustrating for me. Like, it's been a really rough start to the year. And finally, when I thought I was finding some good form and getting on top of things, it's like the universe comes and drops this bomb on you. It's like, why? What have I done? Like, am I in the wrong pathway? What am I meant to do? Well, how am I meant to handle this? Because it just seems that every turn there was a new obstacle that I had to overcome.
To tune in to the full episode of Terenzo Bozzoni, episode 93, be sure to jump over to iTunes or your favourite podcast player, explore the archives of the show, and be sure to jump back to pogophysio.com.au for all podcast show notes. And now let's jump back to Richard Varga. What's the most memorable training day you've ever had with the Leeds? I know obviously you've transitioned since now, but with the Leeds triathlon squad, the boys, what's the most memorable or perhaps the hardest session you've ever done or day you've ever had with them?
Well, that's the thing. They're so consistent. They don't have never any huge days. They have a big days, but I wouldn't say it's something. But I definitely remember one when I went with Alistair on the Tenerife. Jonathan was a little bit ill, so it was just me and Jonathan in Tenerife on the top of the mountain, and we did something like the day. Did 75 minutes run easy, then some aerobic session, 5K swim, and then we had some quick lunch, and they did like 4.5-5 hours ride with over 3,300 meters elevation climbing. And we were starting from the bottom. It was like 30 degrees. Got up there, 2 meters of snow, 2,400 meters high, and Alistair went for another run. That was it.
How far do you run on that second run?
I think like 30 minutes, and it was dark. It was maybe 8 o'clock and in the snow, and it was crazy. And next day another day. It's not like easy another day, So
wow.
Yeah.
And you didn't go on that second run, Rich?
No. I was sensitive enough that I said, if I do another run, I might be screwed for another 2 months.
Rich, let's do a performance round. Some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Not sure. We'll see. Okay.
Training session you most dislike?
Most dislike. I don't know. I like all the sessions. I know I see the benefits of the training. Sometimes you just, when you are really tired, some things you don't like to do. Maybe like a gym or I think the gym would be if you are tired, you not really enjoy.
How many times a week might you gym, Rich?
So the structure is 2 times, but we do like every day little bit some of the preparation for training.
Yeah, got it. Training
15 minutes.
Okay, so preparation. Training session you most love?
The most love? I think the long rides I like. When we go for 4 hours or 5 hours somewhere, we can see the country, and we stop for coffee, and we have maybe some little bit hard uphill challenge or something. That's the most enjoyable, I think. And on the end of the day, you feel very tired but very pleased with the day.
Yeah, that's nice. Favorite pre-race meal, Rich? What fuels you?
Favorite pre-race? It's not very favorite, but that I know it's good for me. I'm just having normal rice before the race with the olive oil and salt. That's just what I used to, and I knew is good for my stomach. So that's my meal.
So you'll have that the day of the race or the night before?
Day in a race.
Yep, and an hour or a couple of hours beforehand, Rich?
Yes, like 2.5, 3 hours.
And the night before? Anything in particular the night before your race?
Night before, maybe some pasta. Yeah, maybe some pasta.
And any meat or fish with that?
Yeah, fish. I usually go for fish.
Any fish in particular?
Salmon.
Salmon. So the fish of triathlon eats salmon. Rich, bedtime, morning time, what do you like there?
Morning time. Like to sleep longer in the morning.
So what time might you get up?
Maybe between 7 and 7:30.
And go to bed at?
Yeah, about 10, 11.
10 p.m. Richard Varga, who's the athlete that you most admire and why?
Admire? In triathlon or out of the triathlon?
Any athlete at all.
There's loads of them. Again, hard one. I was thinking about Gebre Selassie.
All right. Why?
I just love how he's humble, how he's fighting, how his character and what he achieves. It was one of the inspiration for me.
Yeah, brilliant. Toughest competitor you've ever raced and why?
I think Alistair Brownlee. Yeah.
And why?
Because he's going to the death.
Push himself to the death. Nice. Well answered. Is there a mantra, Richard, that you use when you race? Anything that you self-talk to yourself as you compete?
Yeah. Like don't always race with the balls, but race with your head. Don't
always race with the balls? Is that what you said?
With the balls, but race with your head.
Very good. Best recovery tip, Richard Varga?
Icing and beer.
Icing and beer go well together. Your worst injury to date, Rich? What's that been?
The worst injury? I think the worst injury is tooth injury.
You've had a tooth injury. Tell us about that.
I had some inflammation in my teeth many years ago, and it was terrible because the inflammation is go to all your body, and you feel really sick for 2 weeks, and it has to come out, and yeah, it's not very nice, and it was very painful.
Oh, Rich. You tell us, Rich, one word you could use to describe your racing style. What would it be?
Breakaway.
Ah, nice.
Very good.
How would you, Richard Varga, describe being in the zone?
Well, yeah, just be. I'm just trying to be in focus. So what is happening, and focus what I'm doing, what is the others doing, and don't get distracted by other thoughts about negative thoughts. So even the race going wrong, that you're trying to tell yourself that you can do better.
Yeah,
it's still good.
That's good, Rich. One question left in the performance round. What's the funniest thing you've ever seen while out training or racing? The funniest thing, Rich?
I'm really, really bad with remember stuff, though. The funniest was when I was racing maybe 2011 or 2010 in Lausanne. So one of the first World Series, and I was going out from the water and I was really excited. Took my bike first, it's a world championship in a sprint at that point. And I tried to jump on my bike, like the cyclocross, and I jump over my saddle and I fall down, crash, and my race was gone.
So what did you land on?
I just landed on the floor.
Oh, you actually went straight over the front.
Yeah. I went from through the handlebars and I just crashed and my handlebars and everything was completely wrong. My shoes was off. So it was disaster.
Is that on YouTube, Rich? We'll have to find it if it is.
It could be. I'll send you.
Yeah, we'll have a look. So listeners, jump over the show notes and that might just be there. Richard Varga, well done. You're out of the performance round. What's on your bucket list, Rich, both inside triathlon and also outside of triathlon in life in general?
Well, I want to go to Tokyo, definitely. And I want to put better performance and better preparation and learn more about my body and fulfill my potential as an athlete. That's my unlimited goal for always find the edge, So that's the thing. And then I would like to go to Kona, Hawaii. That's the other goal in some point of my life as a professional. And win the Super League.
Come on. Excellent, Rich. If you could boil down everything you've learnt from your years competing at the highest level of sport, the Olympic Games, World Triathlon Series, if you could give listeners just one bit of advice, Rich, one bit of advice to help them perform at their best, what would it be?
I think it's even you are not the best on the first look, put the hard work consistently, and it will some point show off. I mean, I saw lots of athletes to race in lots of years, and they did amazing performance on the end, even out of the triathlon. That if you keep going, be consistent, working hard, that the results will come in future.
Great advice, Rich. Top 3 triathlon tips from Richard Varga. For listeners, what would they be? Not top 3 swim tips, top 3 triathlon tips. What are they for people to get their best triathlon performance out?
So as I said, the consistency, and then progressive training. So building up every time your fitness. So when you get injured, go back with your training, building up. You're not finishing, or when you take a rest, your fitness is not there. Or every time it's just building up the mileage, the intensity, and everything. That's always what I'm looking at, and then be patient. Yeah,
brilliant advice. Richard Varga, a fun question to bring this in to a close, our interview. If you could have dinner with 3 people, living or past, who would be at Richard Varga's dinner table and why?
Dinner table with 3 people. I don't know. I'm happy with the people I know, and I'm just enjoy the every friend and people I meet. So whatever comes in the dinner, there will comes.
So you're going to throw open a wide open dinner table.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Open for everyone.
all right. Well, I'll take a seat, Richard, and Magdalena can have one. And who's going to take the third?
Yeah, we're gonna have good fun.
Great.
Open the wine or something and just have a good talk.
Brilliant. Rich, it's time for you to issue listeners with a physical challenge. Let's call it a Weekend Warrior Challenge. What's Richard Varga's Weekend Warrior Challenge going to be to listeners?
Okay, I think there will be quite hard one. I'm just thinking about it. Let's do 1,500 meters in swimming in a 50 meters pool, for example, and doing with your shorts. Shorts, would you go for a run or something? So it's quite heavy, and with your fist closed like this, not like this, like this, fingers in. Let's do it.
All right. So Rich, we're going to need a video of you doing this challenge so we can share it on Instagram. So it's fists closed, listeners. It's board shorts or shorts on running shorts, and it's a 1,500 meter time trial. Rich, what's your prediction of your time for this challenge going to be? Sub 15?
No way. Not at the moment. I'm out of the fitness, but I think under 18 would be pretty strong performance.
Wow, that'd be amazing in those conditions. What is your PB for 1,500 metres in the pool?
15:30.
Wow, so that's absolutely sensational. So listeners, if you do take on Richard Varga's Weekend Warrior Challenge, be sure to let us know. Tag it up on social media. Where can we find you, Rich, online? Where can listeners follow your journey towards Tokyo and beyond?
Yeah, on my social media channels like Richard Varga Triathlon, Varga Triathlon on the Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I have a website as well, Richard Varga, where I sometimes post some blog about my training, about my racing. So keep online and watch it.
Yeah, brilliant. And listeners, jump over, check the show notes for all of Richard's handles. And Richard, on behalf of myself and listeners, thank you firstly for joining us all the way from sunny Slovakia and for giving up your time to share some insights. You're a much loved personality on the triathlon scene. I don't think I've ever run into anyone that doesn't love you, Rich, myself included. You're such a character. I remember the time at Super League where you came and asked for a haircut with the Physio scissors, and that was just before the race. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was great fun. I needed proper haircut like that.
And then you came out and whooped everyone in the swim. So, mate, you're much love. All the best for the future. Before you go, can you please tag an athlete? Who do you think should appear on the Physical Performance Show? Who are you going to tag?
I'm going to tag Andrea Salzberg.
Andrea Salzberg. So, well, let's get him on and hear from him, hey?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure to be in your program, and looking forward for the challenge with the other people, and enjoy your day.
So there you have it. Another episode of the Physical Performance Show. I trust you enjoyed today's episode featuring Richard Varga. If you did, then please let both myself and Richard know. You'll find our social media handles over at pogophysio.com.au along with a copy of the show notes. If today was your first time tuning into the Physical Performance Show, then a massive welcome. If it was your 94th time, then thank you for your ongoing support. If you've enjoyed today's episode and know someone who would benefit or enjoy this, then please hit share from your device or your smartphone and share it with someone. Pass the love around. Sharing means the world, certainly to me, and it also means a lot to the guests that feature. It really is the way that this podcast goes from earbud to earbud. And for those that have been sharing, I just want to say a huge, huge thank you. I love learning how people discover the podcast. It really does make the efforts to bring the podcast each week so worthwhile. If you do want to let me know what you're enjoying about the podcast, about the show, future guests that you'd like to see featured, of course, you can drop me a message over on social at Brad_beer. That's Instagram and Twitter. Or feel free to email me direct. It's b.beer, B-E-R, at pogophysio.com.au. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you are enjoying the show. That will populate every episode to your device automatically, week in, week out. And lastly, if you are enjoying the show, then please consider taking a moment to leave a rating and review over on iTunes. That really is the currency of the Physical Performance Show that helps listeners experience the show who, just like you, are looking to pursue and perform at their physical best. At the time of recording, the Physical Performance Show has received 144 5-star reviews. So thank you very much. That really means the world. So massive, massive thanks. A special thanks this week to Katie E, who rated the program 5 stars with a heading called Motivation. Katie commented, "I absolutely love the Physical Performance Show podcasts. I look forward to them and I have re-listened to many of them while I enjoy a long run. It is inspiring to hear the insights into the lives of elite athletes and other professionals in the sporting field. Keep up the good work, Brad." Finally, it has been a triathlon theme 3 in a row, and at the time of this episode going live, it is on the eve of the close of registration for an iconic Australian triathlon, and that's the Hell of the West Triathlon. It's held in, as it suggests by its name, super hot conditions in the rural town in Queensland of Gundawindi. And a big shout out to the Gundawindi Triathlon Club crew, Sally Poole, Tim Richards. You guys know who you are. You're big supporters of the Physical Performance Show, and I really appreciate that. So if you are tuning in, then check out the Hell of the West Triathlon, put it in your calendar as an event, or follow the race, which features some great athletes in 2018. A big thanks to the good folk who make the Physical Performance Show possible. That is Daryl Misson, our audio engineer extraordinaire, Susan Wilkin on all things podcast administration, and Matthew Olding on all things podcast images and graphics. Thanks also to Normatech Recovery for partnering with the show to make this show possible each week. If you're into running and you're looking to overcome a frustrating injury that's perhaps been bothering you, keeping you from running at your best, then be sure to check out the 330 pages that is my bestseller, You Can Run Pain-Free. It's available in all types of versions, paperback from pogophysio.com.au, or of course Amazon, Kindle versions, and also Audible versions via Audible or iBooks. Coming up in next week's episode of the Physical Performance Show, I catch up with a very special guest, Curtis McGrath. Curtis McGrath, Order of Australia Medal, is an Australian paracanoeist who took up canoeing competitively after having both of his legs amputated as a result of a mine blast while serving in the Australian Army in Afghanistan. McGrath went on to win 2 gold medals. Curtis went on to win 2 gold medals at the 2016 Paracanoe World Champs before he then went on to take the gold medal in that now famous victory in the 2016 Rio Paralympics in the men's KL2. This is a really great insight into a remarkable Australian doing incredible things. So be sure to tune in next week to hear Curtis McGrath, OAM, share around his stories, the highs, the lows, and the learnings. Until then, keep pursuing your physical best performance. I'm Brad Beer, and this has been the Physical Performance Show.